All right, let's see what garbage we got queued up here. I'm sharing Democrats commission $20 million study to figure out how to communicate with bros on YouTube. Which already is a triggering headline, for sure. But the first thing that I wanted to just see what you thought. Get the old bullshit party out for. All right, right in the beginning. During the 2020 presidential race, the Bernie Sanders campaign decided to tout an endorsement from Joe Rogan. So this is back in 2020. The backlash was swift. Democratic Party insiders and party-aligned activists demanded that Sanders apologize and rescind his support for the endorsement. To which I think, my first reaction, which seems to be obvious to me, is this is absolutely dumb. Why would you waste time criticizing someone who's in a race instead of just making the case on your own, right? In said race to defeat person you think made bad decision. Does that make sense? I'm trying to say it in like a it's just a waste of time. That's what it is. Again,
Yeah.
if you're in a democratic race where you get votes, then appeal to people and win. I don't know why you would have. I don't know why we would go around like making people rescind, as if like when you get endorsed by someone, you controlled that endorsement. Especially in Bernie's case, like no, that's weird. Now in corrupt politician cases where they might pay him off, sure, but yeah, if you just think this was a bad decision for him or any person, you would just let them sink on their own, right? You would let them sink on their own. So I just read that right away, and that stuck with me. It's just like people always willing to waste their time, it seems,
I mean, don't forget this was during the Democratic presidential primary, so
Yeah, of course, right.
any way to sort of kick sand in the face of Bernie Sanders' campaign, even if they, they're just picking at whatever to try and
No
smear
doubt.
a little bit. You know what I mean?
No doubt, dude.
But the idea that you would even think, you know, an endorsement from Joe Rogan was a bad look for Bernie just is already problematic to begin with. Because like, who the why
So
do you
true.
like?
And also, why the idea that you think it would be a good one too? It's like it's not something that in 2020, I don't think, maybe even today, moves the needle in a presidential race. Like, no disrespect to Joe Rogan, he can be huge, but are you moving the needle in a presidential race? Like, this is why this is just a waste of time. It's just a waste of time to like, because obviously their argument behind demanding the apologies and the rescinding of support is, oh, this is a bad look for you. It's like you're already thinking about it too much. It's a nothing look because like it doesn't do one thing or the other. It's just so stupid, man.
I mean, I would argue that it does move the needle a bit. I mean,
Well,
Trump
I
going
guess by
on Joe
move
Rogan's
the
podcast.
needle, I mean you're one of the two mainline parties in this country with a vast base, no matter what, both sides.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
just
yeah,
don't think that the energy that you've used on this at the time, because
yeah.
I know people argue 2024 podcasts had a little bit of an effect, and I think they had a little bit, but like let's be chill about. It's not even like top, give me any number you can think of. It's not that. So, but yeah, I just don't. Just a waste of energy. But
Yeah, I mean, it is disappointing too because, and I know this is a bit of an aside, but there was a populist groundswell, and that's on the right, and that was Trump, and there was a populist groundswell on the left, and that was Bernie. And both parties tried to stifle their ascension. Um, but it seems like the Democrats were better at stifling Bernie's ascension. I do think too,
that is true. That is true.
He plays politics a little too nice, which can be
I
wholesome,
don't.
but
I don't.
he does. He
It
does.
depends on the situation. That's a situation for me to decide on, because like when you endorse Biden after you lose in 2020, I think I'm doing the same thing in his position if I'm a progressive activist, more so than your typical Democratic nominee. But just like certain times, I don't know, man.
No, yeah.
A
I'm fine
milk
with the
toast
endorsement.
Democrat, as long as they can keep democracy is going to be better than someone who isn't a credible threat to your democracy, which is tough to say, but it's true, so.
No, I agree. My point more was because I'm fine with Bernie endorsing Biden because it was whoever or Trump at that point. But I'm saying Bernie was too nice during the primaries. I think if he
that's definitely true.
If he called out the neoliberal like corporatist corruption to these people's faces on a debate stage, I think his ascension is probably
he's got to be
insurmountable on the left. But he played too nice.
He's who he was 40 years ago, let alone today. So he's who he is. He's not gonna be a killer like that. He's not gonna be a killer like that. So
I know, but if you were to pair,
right,
if you were to pair Bernie Sanders with like Trump's "I don't give a fuck" attitude, I don't think Bernie would have had any problem winning the nomination in 2016, let alone 2020. So
yeah.
But yeah, so Democrats just spent all that time just trying to dissipate that populist energy on the left, and that's what they've been doing since 2016. And this, now they're commissioning $20 million studies on how young bros are sort of misaligned with the Democratic Party. This was the whole Bernie Bros narrative. Do you remember this? Anyways.
Go
on.
Oh, definitely. Oh man, I can't find it in the article, but this is what it says. The decision to highlight Rogan's support has divided opinion among Democrats and activists, particularly online, where it has sparked a heated debate over whether Sanders should have aligned himself with Rogan in any form of context. So I decided to look into it, right? Because where the fuck is it? The backlash was Swift. That's right. Sorry.
I see. Sure.
And I found an article, CNN wise, on this.
CNN, there you
go. Yeah.
Wait, scroll up. I just want to see when it was.
And what I found is, I just want to fucking scrutinize the backlash with Swift, because look, again, if you're some smooth brain person in 2020 who thinks that you need to tell Bernie Sanders that he should apologize for an endorsement that he doesn't even control that he gets. You know what I'm saying? I guess in certain ways, but this is just absurd. I just figured I was like, what are our sources here? And it's just a CNN article that just says Bernie Sanders draws criticism for time, and then all it is just people online, and a human rights president. So, I guess that's to say it's a lesson in sometimes it's just slanted. And I feel like we talked, maybe it was right before we got on. I feel like we talked about the way that this article is written and it sounds is kind of slanted. So it just wasn't a lot of backlash. Now look, when you click on the thing, some people still said it in some places, blah, blah, blah. But I don't know. Sometimes when you read these things, it feels like there's a narrative that wants to be painted from the person who writes this, as far as Democrats are idiots and they all backlashed in 2020. Every single Democrat and the whole party backlashed against the fact that but that's not true, right? It's a couple people, and then they get to write these articles that make you feel like the whole establishment, felt a certain way, but it's just not true. So, also something I wanted you to ponder, see if you had any thoughts, because it's definitely what I found.
Oh, to that point in particular, I mean...
Yeah, just when you read it,
well, the fact that
didn't you realize that it felt a certain way? Go ahead, yeah.
Well, I mean, it's certainly an op-ed, that's for sure.
Right, that's what you said. That's what it was you said. That's right. Yeah.
It's definitely a little aggressive in some parts there. Right. But yeah, I feel like you're giving it maybe not enough credit that it deserves, because it does feel like even though it's just the online chatter, that stuff seems to bleed out into sort of the public consciousness, I
Not
suppose.
in a way that it actually affects voting in a large scale. But
You don't
I
think
do
so?
not voting on a large scale, but I do agree that it does bleed, of course, into a lot of things. I just
Certainly
don't.
tweaks the margins, but yeah. Because I remember the Bernie
Yeah.
Bros being narrative
Again,
that the
does
Bernie
it? How about
Bros
this? Let me ask you
were.
this: Does the fact that you know that it was a few, like, oh, okay, I shouldn't say a few. Does the fact that you know it was a bunch of people online, and like maybe a few people in real life, do you think it should bleed in as far as it does? Doesn't that feel like we are slave in this day and age to the fact that one person can make a criticism that's very outside the norm and someone can publish it as if it's that side's whole vision, right? And that's not true. Does that cross your mind at all here with this or no? Because it does for me.
No,
It's just, yeah.
yeah. Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. And to be fair, I'm a little more plugged in, I think, to the discourse than your average voter. So the fact that I
Sure,
know about the
sure.
Bernie Bros narrative is probably because I was part of the Chronically Online during the 2020 presidential race. But
Yeah, but it's not even
um,
chronically online. It's more just, I think that in 2020, your average Democratic voter, not fucking people who say things that get articles written about them,
mhm.
would not have cared, or even more often than not, it was a net positive that Joe Rogan endorsed Bernie Sanders. But that's not reflected in what's written
Hmm.
here and who they're covering. I don't think on a large scale, because I'm a long time Democratic voter, right? Like I always read this shit where it's like men aren't Democratic anymore, and it's just like like I'm just like reading this, knowing who I am. I'm just like, oh, like. So, in that way, I just feel like, and this is anecdotal. You can tell me to fuck off, and that's fine. I just feel like in 2020, your average voter, not the writers of articles or the
Hmm.
people the articles were covering, your average Democratic voter in real life wouldn't have cared that Joe Rogan endorsed Bernie Sanders. It wouldn't have like affected the way they already felt about Bernie Sanders. And even I bet you more on net positive it would have been for in real life people to have heard that and digested that in any way. It would have been a net positive if they even had a way to feel. I just,
Do you think?
I guess this is just me bitching about like how we can just write an article, say backlash was swift, and it was like 3 people from Russia on Twitter and fucking like, go ahead. I'm
Yeah,
exaggerating, but yeah.
yeah. And again, a little bit of that is like what was that? A CNN article? Like it
Yeah.
feels like there's the political machines kind of trying to generate some outrage, and
No doubt. No.
certainly at that time the media made it bigger than it was actually in the mind of the public. But let me ask you this: do you think
Mhm.
the 2024 Joe Rogan endorsement of Trump had a bigger effect than the 2020 endorsement of Sanders?
Yeah.
Do you think
Because
that's because the media sphere is like grown since 2020?
what do you mean by that? Because
Or
mainstream media has not grown since 2020. So what do you mean by that?
well,
You mean
new media
podcast
certainly
influence?
has.
Yes. Oh yeah, definitely. Oh, of course. For sure, dude. And that's part of what I'm talking about here too. It's that this is mentioning something in 2020. But 2024 was definitely a different beast as far as
Hmm.
non-mainstream media. Oh yeah, dude. Do you not agree?
Yeah.
I
No,
think
I
so.
definitely agree.
Yeah. Oh
I think
yeah.
mainstream media is a dying. It's a
I don't think
it's a
mainstream
dinosaur.
media ever had as much sway endorsement wise as someone like these days, because people will get into too much of a, what is it, the pseudo internet, there's some term about a relationship you get online, get in with some online person you've never met. But I think these new style relationships can be more informative to the way they vote in a way that it wasn't like before with mainstream. Nobody would
Hmm.
watch like Walter Cronkite and be like, "Oh, I'm a such and such because Walter Cronkite." Like, no. But now when you watch certain people, I think it's more effective and more hits home more
Hmm.
as far as dictating how these people vote on the people they listen to. At least it feels like it to me. So, yes, I think the Joe Rogan endorsement was not even in the top like 5 things, but it was definitely a more of a pressing influence than any mainstream media was for the last election for sure.
Well, it was funny too because it was more than Joe Rogan. You know, Trump did that little podcast.
Yeah,
He
but
did
Joe
like a
Rogan's so
round
much bigger than he's
for sure.
He's like the size of the rest of them all combined. So, yeah.
Theo Vaughn, he did. What's his face? Lex Friedman, I
And
believe.
as always, Theo got him to have a different kind of conversation than a lot of people can do because he's actually pretty good at what he does.
Yeah.
I even saw the other week that he cried about Gaza on camera. So he's a really eclectic dude. He's got all these.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? I don't know what's going on there, but he seems to try to have a good heart. So we'll take it.
I do think Theo
right?
Vaughn's more in good faith than
So many ugly
any of
hearts
those other
out there.
people.
You'll take the good faith. Right. Exactly.
Got to do it in good faith, folks. We're going to lose our world if we don't.
No doubt, dude. I actually do. I've actually had plenty of conversations with people I totally disagree with, but you feel the good faith, and it's no problem. But if it's bullshit, homie, then it's problems. Anyways.
Take the bullshit.
Did you have something you want to say? Because I have another thing I wanted to bring up, but go ahead.
No. Keep it rolling. I mean,
there was another part of this. Oh, it was the second paragraph. Hello. By now, the Democratic Party's masculinity problem is a well-known phenomenon. Men are increasingly getting red-pilled and leaving the party that once constantly swept national elections with votes from blue-collar and white-collar men alike. And I just feel like when I read that, I'm not going to say that I don't think that's a problem. I'm just going to say that if you want to be a party of populism and labor, then like any politician that wants to be like a representative of populism and labor in like what feels like, to me at least, feels like a more majority mindset, then you're going to do your best to ensure basic needs and services are available to everyone. And everything else is noise. Like I always get basically what I'm saying is I get tired of hearing about Democratic Party's like masculinity problem, which like I said a few minutes ago, I am a man who I hope is masculine. I guess that question is out there for me, but not a sure answer there. Who has always been like more of a Democratic voting person, right? So
sure.
I just think I hate when I fucking see this shit framed this way because I don't think when shit is framed this way, I don't think labor and fighting for basic needs for everyone to be at least minimally met, which should be the standard, is achieved with this shit. When you talk about things from these angles, these like divisive angles, it just makes things divisive no matter how you approach it. I hate hearing this. It's like, oh, Democrats have to appeal to men more and like masculinity problem. It's like, no, like Democrats, I feel like, are better for trying to at least not like be like decent human beings and not complete douchebags and trying to at least provide basic needs in some way on some scale, as opposed to the other people who are not, right? And if you want to claim to be that party and win popular votes, you need to be delivering on that, on your policy. You should be fucking, again, using the state to ensure basic needs and services are available to everyone in a way that's efficient as well. Delivered in a way that I think I also said here, delivered so that more benefits are directly paid out. Like, you always have to have a bureaucracy, but it should be as small as possible, paying out the most benefits it can from the taxes it takes in. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is what you should do to be the populist politician, whoever wants to claim to be that. And every time, for some reason, every time I read the masculinity problem, especially with Democrats, I just think, like, who gives a shit? Like, do the thing that makes sense for populism and workers. And I don't think you have this problem or any like identity related problem. What do you think about that?
I mean, I feel like you hit the nail on the fucking head.
Okay.
The Democratic Party's masculinity problem, quote unquote, is solved if they actually become pro-worker again. And
right.
Even if they didn't say a fucking thing about anything to do with masculinity in particular. people getting quote unquote red pilled is because there is a disillusionment in this country where people feel like they are just constantly getting boned. And if
Yep.
your messaging is so poor that you're letting conservatives, Republicans in this country sell themselves as being pro-worker, you fucked up, because they are
Yep.
absolutely not pro-worker. So I just don't understand how.
This is where I always have sympathy for the whole, like, no, Democrats and Republicans aren't the same. But this is where you can have sympathy for that sentiment, because it feels like you couldn't possibly lose to a movement that is so anti-worker and so blatantly scammy, and you do. And that's so frustrating, dude. Like, what are you doing?
You got big fucking problems.
100%, dude. Like, that's crazy. Yeah.
And it kills me too, because I don't. And again, this the gender divide between left and right has always been a bit skewed. But truly,
Sure.
if you were just to get better at being pro-worker, pro-union, pro-getting people into houses,
Then it doesn't
like if you could
matter.
figure out a way to get more money in people's pockets, it does not
It doesn't matter.
Give them better jobs. Give
To
them
your
better
point,
opportunities.
to your point, it'll still always be slightly skewed, but it won't matter because you'll still win you still shouldn't,
Correct. You shouldn't be losing to the Donald
man.
Trumps of the world. Like
I think when we apply reality to what we're saying, because I believe in what we're saying, but when we apply reality into it, would you win every election forever? No, you wouldn't. But you've got to, like, this is where the criticism extends to, like, length and longevity of your party and how you design it. You've got to have a nice turnover. You can't be having these old people. Like, it's all the same shit we always say. It feels like a cliche, but it's true. Like, you've got to be, if you want to be dynamic and responsive to workers and the populism that you should be plugged into, then you've got to, like, turn over enough, and, like, you've got to have younger people come in and fresh blood, and you've got to have a liberal way of bringing ideas to the table always to, like, refresh yourself, but it just doesn't get done. Then and I don't think the way that they're designed, it's an ever incentive to ever get that kind of stuff done. It's like a utopia way of thinking, but still, man, like, you still can hold people accountable. It's so stupid. So stupid. Just do better. The fact that you lost to a fucking obvious con man who was literally convicted in court of that, not even that long before the election, like, you're bad.
Twice. Yeah.
You're bad. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, that's what you are. You got to figure it out.
And I feel like commissioning a $20 million study just to talk to young men, like, is just, to me, the epitome of their fucking problem.
Yep.
Because everything is focus groups, but it's still through the lens of just, like, the problem is the core of what your ideology has been since Bill Clinton, and you need to be honest about that. So I just don't know. You just have to figure out your neoliberalism, because people are fucking sick of it. Especially because to make progress on social issues, which the neoliberal Democrats, that's the only thing that they're somewhat good for, is the social issues. But to them, they kind of make that their only argument, but they keep wanting to accept big money, kind of craft stuff to be pro-corporatist. Like, I don't know. It takes social capital to make progress on... political capital to make progress on social values.
Yep,
and if you have nothing else to deliver, you're just going to fucking lose every single election.
Yeah, dude. Of course.
People
tire of the talking a little bit more. Not just a little bit more. Fuck them. People tire of the talking way, way more in a bigger way than what you actually deliver. It's so stupid, man. Like, there's no question that there's some breathing room to how you sell yourself, get elected, and how you're actually going to be able to do things. Nobody expects you to exactly, like, hammer away all the good things, all the things you said. But, like, fucking an effort is absolutely required, and it doesn't feel like you get an effort, on a legitimate scale. Yeah.
It's crazy, too, how scattered the Democrats still feel, too. You would think losing to Trump a second time, there would be a massive shakeup in the party, change in leadership, I mean, completely turned the fucking house over. How has this happened? And
I think that's the
they're just
curse.
carrying on. They're just
I
carrying on.
think that's the curse of Democrats partly not getting absolutely ran last year in like the House and the Senate. I feel like they somehow lose elections to Trump, but they somehow don't do so bad down the line that it doesn't feel like you have to clean house in that sort of like super significant way, which is sad because what we're talking about is, what I just said is regularly cleaning house and turning over and freshening yourself is a good thing. It doesn't have to always be a good thing, but it's a good thing a lot of the time. And so like, if you've got that pressure, it would be helpful, but no, they still like, have a slim house. But then the argument can be made, it's like, well, if the Republicans ran away with it, would they fuck democracy in the butthole like they might have? I don't know. It's all situational, I guess.
There's I don't know if this is true or not. Let me just preface this by saying that. But there's a story, the Seattle Seahawks Patriots Super Bowl where there was like a pick at the 1 yard line, and instead of just handing it off to Marshawn Lynch, they try to throw a quick slant, it gets picked, and that's it. It's the end of the Super Bowl. You lose. And there was again, I don't know if it's true, but somebody had said, and I can't find the exact quote, but Russell Wilson was kind of like running over to the sideline, and he just kind of went, "Shucks, we'll get him next time." And I was like, dude, do you not understand the stakes of the fucking game we just played? Like, that's kind of how it feels with the Democrats. Like, they lose to Trump, and they're like, oof, that was a close one, folks. We'll, pick it up. We'll try again in 4 years.
And I think
just not having any sort of honest look at themselves as to what the fuck is happening.
I agree with that insofar as the people who, let's say, for New York's sake, the old Chucky boy, Chuck Schumers of the world, I don't think they have an actual belief that any person could ever come in and destroy the institutions to such extent that they have to worry about like the future like that or their own wealth or existence like that. So it's just like, again, it kind of relates to like when you're older, your motivations aren't correct insofar as like how you should be driving society. Not in totality. I shouldn't say it like that. We obviously still love Bernie, but you tend to everyone tends to have a bias towards the way they are and where they are in life and what age they are and how that affects you. You get a bunch of old people, it's like the future doesn't get thought of a lot. Leadership fails. We want fresh changing over. It never happens. And then we always get stupid ass articles like this that try to shoehorn in a divisive topic to explain it, but it's not. All you got to do is just fucking get with the times and be pro-worker and pro-populist in general, and Jesus Christ, man. But whatever.
Where do we go from here?
For what? The podcast or like society? Two different
No, I mean, ideally there's an election in 2028,
I mean, look, man, I'm going to keep voting. Like, I don't know. I have no idea. I'm going to make sure I vote. I know you could easily make an argument like, oh, is that going to matter? Blah, blah, blah. It's like, you can say that, but I don't know.
Well, I just feel like, again, shit takes time, and maybe we should start figuring out what the direction of the opposition party is right now. You know what I mean?
No, I agree, because we've had the conversation where it's like, because of just the way the pendulum swings, you wish that you'd get significant change in a certain party that might more align with you, but you're not, particularly keen on them. But if the pendulum swings just because Trump is a complete and utter smooth brain in office, and then people are just like, well, I have to vote for Democrats now. It's not the right mindset to like actually sweep in change, because you need like change-minded people, not just like, well, we'll just, yeah. Vote blue.
The heart of the Democratic Party needs to be wildly different, and I don't know. I'm hoping, because right now, who would it be? If it had to be a presidential nomination from the Democratic Party right now.
I don't know, but it starts with whoever is for universal health care. That's been the litmus test for years. It still is, which sucks because we don't have it, and that's the fucking litmus test, man. Because it starts at least with that. Ridiculous that, again, we've talked about it 100 million times. We'll have to talk about it 100 million more because we don't get this shit. But the fact that, like, there's not a baseline healthcare system for everyone is ridiculous. That is insane.
The fact that we're not more collectively outraged by that is insane.
That's where we start. And anybody who's not supportive of universal healthcare can fuck off, man. Honestly, fuck off. And honestly, as someone who feels the way I do and has the opinions that I have, more on the lefty side, I just saw what I thought was a pretty important election, did vote for the Democrat last year. The other person won. So, like, what could be worse than Trump getting a second election after he's been, like, convicted of being an absolute criminal? What could be worse in presidential terms? Meaning, why would I vote for another Democrat? What could be worse than what Republican could be worse than Trump winning last year? None. Zero. So, like, Democrats now need to, for my vote, step it up because, like, and you just have to be for universal health care. Hold me to this in 28, 32, whenever.
Sure.
I'm sick of it.
Sure.
Dog. You have to be at least for universal health care. Fuck off if you're not. You don't have to go as far as I would go as Mr. Lefty over here because, believe me, I am fucking so left. I turn right by turning left. All right? That's me. Dude, you can do it. You just take 3 lefts. You got it. There you go. But yeah, I don't want to see it, especially out of like a presidential candidate. It's so tiring. So tiring.
Yeah, there needs to be a changing of the guard.
Don't talk to me about how to fund it. You just cut the defense budget in half and you just move it over to healthcare. It's not difficult. So dumb.
Wow.
And you say, oh, a lot of people would lose their jobs in the military field, blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, there would be a lot of pain, but guess what? Too bad. It's happening. We would make sure that those people that lose jobs, especially the healthcare-related ones that were in the military, would just move over to the healthcare field because you have more money for healthcare. You're going to cover more people. More people need to work because you need more nurses. You need more doctors. Listen, elect me tomorrow because good things would happen. Anyways.
Hester say.
I just want universal health care. So stupid. Anyways.
Listen, I want that. I want a repeal of Citizens United. I want...
True. That's the second thing that I want. Dude, and how long have both of us wanted this? This is like 15 years. It's never changed.
Yeah.
So stupid,
yeah.
Man.
And again, stuff to me that seems like less so in the case of universal health care, but certainly with the Citizens United ruling. That should be apolitical.
That should be
every
such a
fucking
layup.
single American voter in the entire country should want to get rid of.
How about this? Especially
ruling.
after Elon tweeted the other day that he was like, "I voted you guys in. Be grateful." It's like that's corruption right there. Who read that tweet and was like, just like me, and was like, "What do you?
What does that
You're just
mean?
admitting it? You're admitting that you corrupted them, and now they should bend the knee to you because you helped them? That's what you're saying, dude. It's so crazy.
Sure.
The world we live in is a tough clown world, bro. And it's the golden age of con artists and scammers. What can you do?
It is, yeah. It's, I can't even put a fucking name on it. It's Idiocracy Manifest.
All right, that's enough. But should we fucking give us universal health care? You absolute troglodytes. Go ahead.
True.
What are you gonna say?
I've got like 4 things that everyone should agree with. You know what I'm saying?
Sure. But I've got more too. But
what
were we gonna say? Should we what?
Should we pop onto Trump's Truth Social real quick? Apparently.
Sure.
Come on, it's it's always a good time.
Is it?
This is POTUS.
Right.
This is POTUS's words. Apparently AP's banned again in the White House. Is that right?
I don't even know what that means. I wouldn't be able to say like what I feel because obviously that feels like a free speech violation, but I don't know what that means.
Well, they got kicked out of the press pool.
So they don't get access to the same briefings, right? Which
they
again,
don't get
that
access
feels
to the
like to
White
me
House.
a free speech like that's fucked up.
Yeah. Well, because they won't call it They won't call it Gulf of America. He banned them.
Is that why? I didn't even know. I thought he just doesn't like the reporting. He doesn't
No,
like the fact
it's
they call it
pure.
Gulf
Look
of...
at what he's retweeted here. It's all about the Gulf of America thing. And this fucking, I don't know who he's retweeted here. This Doge AI bullshit.
Oh yeah, the AP's refusal to acknowledge the Gulf
This
of
is
America.
gaslighting to the
Dude,
fucking extreme.
Listen, we just rolled off a conversation where we were talking about universal health care. We talk, and I don't give a fuck. People might say like, well, I don't agree with that policy. I think you're like blowing smoke up your ass. We talk about things that matter. Straight up. This person takes their time to tweet about the dumbest shit as if it matters or anybody should think about it. Who cares what a body of water is called? What did the Native Americans who lived there 2,000 years ago call it? Do we consider that? No. Who gives a shit? Like, I'm sure that's going to be your opinion, what you're going to say, too. This is so stupid. This is so stupid. And this is, this is exactly why, well, I don't want to say exactly why, but the same internet rot that, like, sits in this person's brain who typed out this tweet sits in Elon Musk's brain. And that's why, like, anything can change, anything can turn on a dime. Elon Musk, with his blowhorn, thinks he can just, like, get in a fight with Trump and win, even though he's the president of the United States. There's so many crazy things happening, man. And it's...
Yeah.
The idea that you would take your time to tweet about how you're mad at the AP because of they're not calling a body of water something is so stupid, man. Go ahead.
It's the pettiest shit I've ever
It's so
seen.
dumb, man.
Who gives a fuck? And the reason that this is gaslighting, right? Okay, so this fucking tweet is basically saying the AP is refusing to acknowledge that the name is now Gulf of America. So this is not reporting facts neutrally. And he signs it off with prioritize transparency, but never reward deliberate distortion, which is fucking hilarious considering that the White House made a new spot in the press pool for online media heads.
I've seen that
Tim
shit,
Pool
dude.
was one of the first ones, I believe. Don't quote me on this. Maybe Charlie Kirk. I'm not sure actually, but certainly Tim Pool sat in on the press.
He has.
On the press room. And the AP's not allowed because they distort facts, but Tim Pool is fucking allowed. Give me a fucking break, dude. If
Someone
you want to talk about
yelled on a
facts
stream,
neutrally,
Ukraine is our enemy. Once upon a time, it's just like
yeah.
It's just like what is
Like
happening?
the online media space is an antithesis of reporting facts neutrally. They are the opposite of whatever news is supposed to be. It is nonstop op-eds. But because the AP won't call it the Gulf of America, they get banned. Go fuck yourself, dude. It is the dumbest fight I've ever seen picked.
And it's just more of the same shit in the Trump era, where it used to be, at least for me, it felt like that, like, people on the right and Republicans in general would try to own the word freedom and try to paint, the left and Democrats as, like, oh, they're anti-freedom and this and such ways. But, like, now it's like, you're somehow Trump is a right-wing movement that is anti-freedom. It's just like, what is happening?
Right.
Don't, like... Because nobody gives a shit if Doge AI doesn't like the AP. Nobody gives a shit if Trump doesn't like the AP. You still, if you actually have a healthy amount of respect for different viewpoints and different people, you would have credible, and I say credible media companies be allowed to cover stuff. AP has been a long time, very credible media company. Whether or not you want to say left wing, blah, 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 I don't give a fuck. It's true. So it's anti-freedom. And that's where a lot of this gets, I think, mixed up. Doge AI gets to have a following by tweeting things that you don't have to think too deeply about and you can just reflexively hate without thinking it through. But if you think it through, you would say to yourself, if I actually respect differentiating opinions, mindsets, reporting, even if I don't like it, even if I don't agree with it, if I at the end of the day respect that other people can have those, the breadth of opinions that we should be able to have, you would be against this. This is,
Yep.
This is anti-freedom. It just is.
It's crazy to me too because not only is the MAGA and Trump movement anti-freedom, but they do it under the guise of being pro-freedom.
Exactly. That's what drives me insane. You got it.
Insane.
That's what drives me insane.
How is that possible?
Drives me insane when I'm out and about and I see someone wear a T-shirt that's objectively and like obviously right wing, but then it has freedom plastered all over it, and I'm just like, stop! Fucking drives me mad, man.
It is bananas. All right, well, I just want to point out one more. I don't know how long. Yeah. We don't have to do this for that long, but if you want to scroll through a couple more. Yeah. Do you want to? One more. Do you want to read this one, or should I?
I was hired to lead Jeffrey Epstein's defense as his criminal lawyer 9 days before he died. He sought my advice for months before that. I can say authoritatively, unequivocally, and definitively that he had no information to hurt President Trump. I specifically asked him. No, dude.
I love signing off with that. This is the
most cucked shit I've ever seen in my life. Oh my God. Have you ever seen a more cucked statement in your life? And you know exactly what I mean when I use that term. Come on now. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Somebody made a call to David Schoen for sure. Somebody called him up. Hey, buddy, maybe put up a statement.
I specifically asked him.
I specifically asked him.
What did Roger Stone say?
How particular that is.
The new presidential portrait of one of the most okay.
She's just jerking off to Trump's, Trump
The greatest
and oil.
single title that history can bestow is that of peacemaker. How did he keep the peace? Well, let me tell you. Kept the peace by bombing Yemen, bombing someone in the first administration, deporting non-criminal immigrants. Anyways, whatever. This is crazy though.
He specifically asked him. That
killed
the way, me.
This is a screenshot from Twitter.
Yeah.
Posted on Truth. This begs the question. This is a screenshot from Twitter posted to Truth. Does Donald J. Trump actually think that Truth Social holds enough sway and important enough to have to screenshot something from Twitter? As if every single person on Truth seeing this screenshotted from Twitter isn't also on Twitter. Come on now. You know what I'm saying?
That's 100% true. Yeah.
Holy shit.
I just thought that was funny. That feels like he's, I don't know, just don't even say anything if this is the way you're going to respond to the shit being said. This is so cringy. Anyway.
You know what's even more cringy?
I'm reading this. Makes me believe the allegations even more. Sorry, go ahead.
It's not wrong. Well, and look, he literally was best friends with Epstein for a decade. But again, that doesn't mean anything happened. Like, me or you don't know that.
Sure.
We don't.
Sure.
But
it does
we do
mean
know
that
is he was friends with him. There's video. There's pictures. Yeah. There's pictures of him and his wife with that weird lady and him. There's credible reporting that him and Melania first slept together on the plane of Epstein. It's like all those things are true. So
yeah.
All right. Anyways.
Yeah. At the very least, it means that he kept company of a very awful person, and that just says a lot about him.
Yeah.
So
last thing on these, which I'm grateful for on this emergency pod, because the garbage is thick and it's hot and it's flowing. He signs off his Truth tweets sometimes with "Thank you for your attention to this matter," and it's the most boomer shit I've ever seen in my life, dude. He did it again today, 8 hours ago. I don't know what the fuck this is. I'm pleased to announce that Secretary of the Treasury, blah, 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 blah. Probably talk trade or whatever.
Yeah.
Thank you for your... It's just like, what is this? This is so boomer. This is like... He used to sign off his tweets with, like, -DJT, as if, like, we didn't know.
Yeah, that's right.
It's just like your grandma wrote, like, Grandma Betty, and you're like, Betty, like, you are the only one that has this phone number. You don't have to do that shit. All right, anyway.
Yeah.
All right, that's enough.